Good evening, peon. We trust you don't see through our propaganda to the crimes against humanity that are happening as we speak. Speaking of which, whatever happened to that 15-day-long pandemic that we've been aggressively pushing for the past 2 years? Well, before we never answer that, World War III is happening right now! Thank God. For a full scoop on the latest of what's happening with Russia and Ukraine, we'll throw it over to Kamala Harris to explain everything.
So, Ukraine is a country in Europe. It exists next to another country called Russia. Russia is a bigger country. Russia is a powerful country. Russia decided to invade a smaller country called Ukraine. So, basically, that's wrong.
We did this to ourselves. What a great explanation, Madam Diversity. And she further helped protect the world as war is breaking out by taking to Twitter to explain the following. We must increase protections for the LGBTQ plus Americans across the country. The onslaught of state bills targeting transgender Americans and their families is wrong. Thank you for the Marxism, helps out a lot. And Putin, in case you're watching, her pronouns are she, her. We currently have no idea what gender Vladimir Putin is because he doesn't indicate his pronouns anywhere. Therefore, he can't be considered a real threat because we have no idea what he is. Oh look, Twitter allows the president of Russia to have a Twitter account, but not the former president of the US. Doesn't tell us anything about who the real threat is, does it? If Vice President, not a white man, doesn't paint a clear enough picture about what's happening with Russia and Ukraine for a crystal clear understanding of what's going on, let's see what Hunter's dad has to say.
How do we get to the place where, Putin decides he's gonna just invade Russia? Nothing like this has happened since World War II.
Well, I guess our biggest concern would be if Putin decides to invade Russia. Wonder what that would be like, Mr. President. Oh, this just in. We're not allowed to talk about election integrity, so we won't. But unlike President Brandon's concern, we don't think Putin will invade Russia. He would be too intimidated by Biden's military. How so? Well, since taking office, Biden has dismantled our military, replacing some tactical training time with critical race theory training time. He's dismantled the most fierce military on the planet in favor of forming the most diverse military on the planet. Which is exactly how you win wars. Putin's almost all-white military doesn't have nearly enough diversity to stand up against Biden's military. Moving along. Putin clearly underestimates the man who said an infamous KKK leader and recruiter was a friend and mentor. And last year, in an unprecedented move, Biden saved the US from Trump's policy of making the US energy independent when he shut down the Keystone Pipeline, which then made us energy dependent on Russia. Take that, Putin! Now Biden's got himself right where you want him to be. Biden is a world leader who is an expert at playing four-dimensional chess, where he mostly just takes his own pieces off the board. Kinda makes Biden the opposite of how Trump was with Putin.
Where am I?
Right here, sir.
I'm right here.
Okay, here we go. Boss, let's go over here. Okay, once you turn around to your right.
Hey, folks.
That's pretty badass. Moving along. A man arguably brighter than Biden, as if that's possible, Elon Musk says, "Hate to say it, but we need to increase oil and gas output immediately. Extraordinary times demand extraordinary measures." And he goes on, saying, "Obviously this would negatively affect Tesla, but sustainable energy solutions simply cannot react instantaneously to make up for Russian oil and gas exports." Well, what Elon doesn't understand is with Biden buying America's oil and gas from Russia, America is funding Russia in the war. And Elon just assumes we wouldn't want to do that for some reason. You gotta stop thinking like a genius and start thinking like a reptile, Elon. And in dictator headlines, Putin passes a law imposing a 15-year jail term on anyone spreading lies about the military. What Putin Putin is doing to suppress free speech is wrong. Here's how the Biden administration does it. They advise Facebook on what to censor. And all the other big tech companies defecate on the First Amendment in the name of being loyal to their party's agenda. They also employ independent fact checkers who are very dependent on the ones who fund them, who then censor dangerous things like information and truth. This is the proper way of doing it, Putin, because when the Biden administration does it, they are protecting American citizens by upholding democracy based on what we tell you to think. But when Putin does it, he is actively harming his citizens by destroying democracy when he does the same thing. Tell the sheep to feel outrage when Putin does it. You should feel outrage when Putin does it. Back to Elon Musk. When certain governments have asked him to cut Russian news feed sources on his Starlink satellites, he says, Starlink has been told by some governments, not the Ukraine, to block Russian news sources. We will not do so unless at gunpoint. Sorry to be a free speech absolutist. Weird. The world's smartest man supports free speech? Even speech he doesn't agree with? Maybe he knows something we don't. But probably not, right? Concluding tonight's report, moving on from the war being waged overseas to the war being waged on you by the Biden administration, as he enters his second year of not knowing he's president, President Brandon delivered his first State of the Union address. And it was great. Everything makes sense now, doesn't it? There were three notable highlights from the address. Number one, when Biden said we're going to reduce inflation by increasing spending. Can't wait. It makes a lot of sense. Maybe we'll also reduce global warming by increasing carbon emissions. And we could get people to sleep more by having them stay up all night. And we'll start fighting fires with flamethrowers. Relax. He's got inflation under control, America. And number two, Biden said we don't need to defund the police. We need to refund the police. Some conspiracy theorists think this is the biggest case of gaslighting we've seen since the last time he said words out loud. They're obviously wrong. Joe's been saying we need more police funding all along. Right? Right. And number three, during the State of the Union, Nancy Pelosi was seen trying to keep her dentures from falling out while doing an impression of a praying mantis. But in a very controversial call, our fact checkers have confirmed she was not doing an impression of a praying mantis. She was simply receiving her latest insider trading tip. And finally, after so many examples of seeing government officials who care so much about the American people that they're willing to sell them out for their own personal gain, here is Governor DeSantis displaying the 3 C's of care, courage, and common sense.
You do not have to wear those masks. I mean, please take them off. Honestly, it's not doing anything, and we got to stop with this COVID theater. So if you want to wear it, fine, but this is ridiculous.
All right, well, it's good to be at USF.
Well done, America's governor. That's it for tonight's news. Tune in tomorrow night to avoid having the opportunity to accidentally get in touch with your own critical thinking. That would be dangerous for our agenda. I mean you. Good night. Okay, I was just pretending to work. Which means I want to thank the sponsor of today's video, Cacao Bliss, made by Earth Echo Foods. I work a lot because freedom matters, so the job's never done. But I also need to be well fueled while I work, and Cacao Bliss helps me do it. I love the cool, sustained energy boost I get from 100% raw organic cacao. And it's not just the cacao. Cacao Bliss also contains 4 superfoods, MCT oil, turmeric, lucuma, which means it gives you a lot of good energy. This desk is made from bamboo, because we literally took food away from panda bears to make this desk. But enough about the desk, more about Cacao Bliss. It's earned its place in my kitchen as a regular staple in my smoothies, nut milk, coffee, and I also enjoy mixing it just with warm water for a tasty treat, which will treat my body well. Cacao Bliss is unscientifically proven to bring 4,000% more joy into your life. Science. If you want to join me in increasing your joy factor and fueling yourself with great energy from Cacao Bliss, just go to earthechofoods.com/JPSears and be sure to use the discount code JP for 15% off.